Kidslife, welcome back to our God's Greatest Love Story series. In this series, we're talking about the Bible, from God's creation of the world to his plan to bring freedom and restore our relationship, restore humanity's relationship to himself through his Son, Jesus Christ. We're going to be talking about his amazing love and as a father, how he never gives up on his children and how he has given us the important job to share that message, to share that light, to share that love with the rest of the world. As sons and daughters of God, it is such a special and important job. Let's get into a kid's life, but first, let's play a game.
This game is called Cookie Face. For this game, you're gonna need some cookies or some small snacks and a partner. This is how you play. Put the cookie on your forehead. Try and get the cookie into your mouth only using your face muscles. This game is a race, so let's see who can get the cookie fastest. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Hello, hi. How are you doing? Time's up. Stop.
Okay. You know what? I think we'll be fine. Just a few of these bad boys in the mix.
Professor Puffin,
Oh, crumbs.
it is not a time for games.
I'm trying to invent the most irresistible candy for X7 that as soon as they get a whiff, they will come straight back here immediately.
Professor Puffin, it's been 2 days,
Yes?
and you wanted to get X7 back with candy.
It would have worked for me.
It can't eat candy.
Well,
Don't lose heart, Professor Puffin.
we'll think of a perfect plan. But first, let's take a break.
Library?
Yes,
Candy?
yes.
We can make this work.
Okay.
Good day to you, little inventors. It's always such a joy to see you in the library in between all your inventions and creations, whatever craziness you're getting up to in that hectic science lab. My goodness. Well, shall we, my little pumpernickel muffins? Let's get into the word. After sin had entered the world, we became separated from God, and we could not freely be in his presence the way that Adam and Eve were in the garden before they disobeyed him. As humans multiplied and filled the earth, sin grew and people became more and more evil. Many people did not follow the Lord, but began making up their own gods and worshipping them instead. God's heart was broken because he loved his children so much. God chose a man named Abraham and his family to rescue all of humanity. God promised to bless Abraham's family, to give them a land of their own, and to make them as many as the stars in the sky. He told Abraham that his family would be used to bless all the nations on the earth. Abraham's descendants became known as the Israelites and were forced into Egypt because of a famine in their land. At first, they lived there peacefully, but when new pharaohs came in that didn't know who the Israelites were, they forced them into a life of slavery. For 400 years, the Israelites lived as slaves in Egypt, never losing hope that God would rescue them. God heard the cry of his people and remembered his promise to give them a land of their own. He raised up another one of Abraham's descendants, Moses, to lead them out of Egypt and into the land he had promised them. God performed many miracles along the way. He taught them how to live and follow him by giving them the law. The journey to the promised land was only meant to take a couple of weeks, but when they got to the edge of the land, God's people disobeyed him again. They became full of fear. They did not trust him, and they refused to enter the promised land. After 40 years of wandering in the desert, the Israelites entered the promised land. They crossed the Jordan River, and God helped them to defeat all of their enemies so that the land would finally be theirs. God had fulfilled his promise to give them a land of their own. The nation of Israel was meant to be blessed. It was meant to grow, and through them, God's goodness would spread throughout the world. But the Israelites' disobedience continued, and again, they began worshipping their own gods. Despite all of this, God remained faithful and patient with his people. He did not give up on them. He had a plan.
Okay.
So even though the Israelites sinned against God,
Yes.
God continued to be faithful and gave them the law and guided them to the promised land.
Guided!
Yes, he guided.
Yes, no, yes, well, yes he did, but guided! X7 isn't lost. It just needs to be guided back home!
Bravo, Dr.
Yes,
Marble,
yes,
bravo!
yes.
How do we do that?
Here's what we'll do. We'll create a strong enough signal for X7 to know the signal, and then it'll bring it back home.
Bravo
Yes.
again, Dr. Marble!
Yes.
How are we going to do that?
Well, first, Professor Puffin, we'll take all our glassware that we have. We'll pour in all the salt we need, and then we'll take the mixture which we have to do. Yes, Professor Puffin. All you have to do.
Okay, I trust you.
Stir. Yes. Yes. Perfect. And then what we'll do is we'll pour it in here, and then the fumes, Professor Puffin. Oh, the fumes! Actually, come this way. Now shuffle back this way, and then and Professor Puffin. All we know is here and
Oh no.
help me.
Okay, sorry.
Perfect. You pour this in here, and voila! Stop.
Oh, sorry.
Peas and rice.
Fantastic. This is going to work, Dr. Marble.
It will work.
Sensational. X7, we're coming for you.
Yes.
We're all coming for us.
We love you, X7.
Love, Dr. Marbles, is in our memory verse, our Kidslife memory verse.
Yes.
Matthew 22, verse 37 to 39.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and all your soul, and all your mind.
This is the first and greatest commandment.
And the second is just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Okay, which way do you go?
Yes, we'll face up.
This
So face
way.
up.
God had a plan to rescue his people through the nation of Israel. Even though they lost trust in him, lost sight in him, and started worshipping other gods and other religions, God was still faithful to his promise to lead them into the promised land. God demonstrates to us that even though we might fail, he is always faithful and he always keeps the promises he makes to his children. Kids Life, that's it from us. See you again next week.